Welcome to Sketchy Behavior. I'm Ryan, and this is my review for the latest horror release, M3GAN. M3GAN? The fuck is it with these horror titles? M3GAN. What could have easily been brushed aside as merely a ripoff of the Child's Play franchise proves to be so much more fun than that rote imitation. Much like her redheaded cousin, M3GAN seems destined to become a staple of pop culture for the foreseeable future. Now, whether or not her popularity sees the same seemingly immortal longevity as Chucky seems highly unlikely, but does remain to be seen. A good indicator of this is usually how many M3GAN costumes you see at Halloween, not only this year but the following year, and considering how well this movie's doing in theaters, I feel pretty safe to assume that it's going to get a sequel in the next 2 to 3 years. And if that sequel is as good as or even better than this original movie, her popularity is just going to take off through the roof. And I had read that they filmed for an R rating and then went back and recut it to get a PG-13 edit, which makes a lot of sense when you see the film because the tone kind of shifts throughout the film. They start off on this very goofy footing with this sort of mock commercial for Perpetual Pets or whatever it is, and they're just letting you know this is a tongue-in-cheek affair, but the tone shifts kind of dramatically throughout the movie. So you get these sort of like comedic bits where they're doing the Perpetual Pets commercials and things like that, and then there's, you know, obviously M3GAN is like singing Katy Perry songs and she's doing TikTok dances and things like that. But the main crux of the story is about a little girl named Katie who loses her parents and gets sent to live with her Aunt Gemma, a robotics engineer who specializes in robotic toy designs, advanced robotic toy designs. Gemma, inspired by her inability to care for her niece properly, creates M3GAN as a sort of stand-in caretaker. The android is designed to learn and evolve with the child that they're paired with so they can better take care of them. So during the movie, we're watching this young niece struggle to come to terms with the loss of her parents and the immense grief she's feeling, while her aunt is feeling a little cold and distant as she's absorbed with her work. So on one hand, we have this deep emotional storyline. On the other hand, we have TikTok dancing M3GAN. These things kind of clash a little bit, but it never gave me tonal whiplash to the point that I didn't feel like the movie wasn't working. It just felt like they had two different ideas and they kind of tried to meld them together for the final cut. Now, I had way more fun with this movie than I thought I was going to. I think M3GAN is fantastic. I think she's creepy as hell. She watches every move you make. She listens to every conversation you have. She's intelligent enough to profile people psychologically and clever enough to use it against them. She's basically Alexa with a body, and it's kind of terrifying. Now, if I had to go into my negatives for this story, it would go back to our two dueling protagonists. Because Katie, by design of the story, Katie is always sad and closed off, or she's angry and lashing out. Similarly, Gemma is very distant and kind of cold as she's completely absorbed in her work. This is all by design of the story about our increasing connection to technology and how it further distances us from our fellow humans, but it did leave me feeling kind of distant from the characters and unable to connect them in any real meaningful way. Now, I think this might just be a me problem, as I believe my fiance did connect to, at the very least, Katie, you know, a young girl who's going through immense grief and sadness, and she's finding a friend in M3GAN, a trusted person in M3GAN. Well, she thinks she's a person, essentially. She responds to her like she's a person, and in fact, she gets closer to her than she does to any person in this story. And that kind of becomes the problem with me, because neither protagonist is really connected to any other human beings. Gemma's obsessed with her work, Katie's obsessed with M3GAN. And while this is all, again, by design of the commentary of the story, it kind of just doesn't work for me as far as being connected to the characters. Now, this does allow M3GAN to shine in all her creepy glory, but it kind of left me as a viewer with little else to connect to on screen other than just having fun and kind of rooting for M3GAN as she enacts vengeance upon people who were mean or nasty to Katie. However, when it comes to M3GAN, the villain herself, she definitely justifies the film's existence. Whether she's busting out her best dance moves to taunt a victim before the slaughter, quipping at someone's shortcomings, or tearing off body parts, M3GAN is consistently entertaining with her personality on full display at all times, even when she's not saying a word. Now to address the PG-13 sized elephant in the room. Yes, I would love to see the original cut of this film. I would love all the gore and the violence put back in. For me personally, that heightens the tension, it heightens the threat level, and I don't think that with the PG-13 in place, it allows M3GAN to reach her full potential as a threat. I understand why they took the PG-13 route. This is a film that is going to play very well to younger audiences, both the tone of the film, but also just the appeal of M3GAN in general. And look, even at a PG-13 rating, the movie is entertaining enough to keep old heads like myself highly entertained, even if it doesn't have quite as much violence and gore as we would like in a killer robot slasher flick. I'll be interested in seeing years down the line how many female horror fans notate M3GAN as their entry point into horror. Now, while I feel like this is a film made for everyone, and it's certainly entertaining enough for me, I do think it's going to hit that demographic a little harder. And personally, I don't see anything wrong with that. As a horror hound myself, I say the more the merrier. I don't care what your entry point is. If you're a fan of horror, come on in. While the film lightly functions as a commentary on our commercial, emotional, and psychological connection to technology that may one day replace us, it's mostly just an excuse to introduce a new horror villain onto an unsuspecting audience. And in that regard, I think they succeeded in spades. Full of menace, laughs, some biting social commentary, and a colorful antagonist you will have no problem rooting for, M3GAN is a highly entertaining, if not somewhat uneven horror comedy, and a very welcome addition to the killer doll subgenre. More than merely child's play, M3GAN is a fully functional horror icon in the making, though a slightly watered down version when compared to previous models. Theatrical score? 7.5 out of 10. For me, a 7.5 means solid film. You did a great job. You put a movie out that highly entertained me. Could you have done some things better? Sure. Are there things that I wish were different? Like, do I wish those were R-rated? Sure. But the package that I was delivered in theaters was highly entertaining, kept me engaged throughout, and sent me off on a positive note. And really, what more can you ask for from a January horror release? This used to be the graveyard for shitty horror movies, and now we're actually getting something to start the year off right. And as a horror fan, I am thrilled. Cannot wait for even more horror this coming year. Anyway, that's just my opinion. Do you have a different one? Did you hate the movie? Did you love the movie? Do you agree that M3GAN's going to become a horror icon, or do you think I'm jumping the gun on that one? Let me know in the comments below. I am legitimately interested in what other people think about movies. It's not just about what I have to say. I'm Ryan, you've been watching Sketchy Behavior, and until next time, keep it sketchy, y'all.